Where is that at? Is it?
I remember.
Bikinis? But they had to be in behind section. Yeah, I said the whole body, but no bikini.
We've had such warm winters.
I didn't go. This time of year in Northport, no bikinis.
Look how people love us. People just love us. Hello, Mr. Dyer. Upright, breathing.
Right, taking.
I'm going to remind everybody to turn their microphones on. And I will call the meeting to order, and we can stand for the pledge, followed by a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll go with the roll call.
Commissioner Robbins.
Here.
Commissioner Walter.
Here.
Commissioner Bunnick.
Present.
Commissioner Wessel.
Here.
Commissioner Campbell.
Here and present.
Commissioner Allgaier.
Here.
Chairman Yoder.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Next up, we have approval of board minutes. Looks like we got 3 sets of minutes to approve tonight. Hope everybody had a chance to review them. Motion.
I move we approve regular session minutes for Tuesday, December 16th, Friday, January 9th, and executive session meetings for January 13th.
Support.
Board discussion. Not all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Carried 7-0. All right, next up, we have approval of the agenda. Do you have any late additions or deletions? Commissioner Wessel?
I move to approve the agenda as presented. Support.
Supported. Commissioner Allgaier and Commissioner Robbins, I believe. Any discussion? Not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried 7-0. Next up, we got declarations of conflicts of interest. Do we have any commissioners here that have a conflict with items on the agenda tonight? None. We'll move on to communications. And first, we got an update from our administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sure many have heard through the news media, there was a decision to place the finance director, Ms. Hartsfeld, on paid administrative leave for a period of time. I met with her this afternoon based upon conversations that she and I had. We're continuing some discussions regarding the formatting and staffing of the finance department. And so I don't have a resolution of that disciplinary notice sent out. I was hoping to have a resolution of that this evening, but based upon those conversations with Ms. Hartsfeld, I think there are some continuing discussions that I want to have with her, and we laid out the formula for that, and we'll be doing so in the next couple of days. That's about the most that I can say about that this time, because it involves a personnel matter of basically confidential matters that could ultimately be harmful for Ms. Hartsfeld if I'm going to discuss it any further, despite the fact that there's been some discussion of it public and through other media sources that identified. Continuing to have those discussions with her, and I hope to have those resolved in a couple of days. In addition, I'm going to be out of the office starting tomorrow for the balance of the week and then for the first 3 days of next week. But I will be available by contact Lauren Cipher. She will have daily contact with me, and I'll have my laptop and cell phone, county issued cell phone available with me in case there's any need for direct communications with me, and you can all reach me as you normally otherwise would. As far as the finance department goes, we've been dealing with all the year-end things and the beginning of the year things that need to be done through the finance department. We filed all the necessary tax withholding with the federal and state government. We filed some required grant reports today. Those were finalized, and we're continuing on with the finance business of the finance department as normal. If there's any questions anybody has for me regarding that, well, one last thing, we do have an item on the agenda tonight that it's a consideration of it's action item 3B. Addition, which is a consideration of a letter of agreement that's currently approved by the Teamsters Union regarding a temporary wage increase. That's for the individual that is in the accounting clerk position. I want to make sure everyone is aware that was not a request that Elizabeth made. It was my idea. Primarily because she's doing frankly the work of more than one person right now, and I think she ought to be compensated for that. In fact, as we speak, she's still in the office working on financial issues. So that would be for your consideration on item 3B, and I encourage you to adopt that to recognize the work that she's performing. That's my report for this evening, Mr. Chair.
Any questions for Administrator?
Just on, you had talked about possibly hiring someone, somebody else. I thought in an email that you were interviewing, or that there was a chance of it.
I haven't interviewed anyone, but I have had some discussions.
And I don't mean for the finance director. This was for a clerk position, or I believe.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yes, that's correct. Unfortunately, just so everyone knows, we have tried diligently to fill that second clerk's position. We've actually offered it to 4 people since the last 6 weeks, actually, give or take a day or so. And we've not been able to fill that position with for various reasons. Some, like the last gentleman, we offered the position to, he got another job that paid substantially more than we were able to offer him, given the union wage scale for that position. That was unfortunate. So he was very qualified, and I think we've done very well in that job. But we'll continue to search for that. I think we're going to have another interview, a second interview with another candidate coming up next week. That Jen Kane is arranging that, so I don't know the exact day. I indicated I'd be available by Zoom or Teams to participate in that meeting, and I'm also going to meet Elizabeth Gray as the current account clerk in that interview. So could have that position filled fairly short.
Thank you. Mr. Money?
I was just wondering, are you now then the acting, or have we appointed an acting?
I'm functioning as the acting finance director. Exactly. Yes.
Russell?
Yeah, not a question, but a comment, and I was concerned about the release of some information. In all my years of supervising personnel, during a disciplinary process, I've never released the details that I've seen released this last 2 weeks. I think they put us at potential legal risk. I think they were inappropriate. And I don't want to cast blame today, but I think we do need some discussion as a board about how we handle information on ongoing, potentially legal issues, and certainly on personnel issues. And I think we put our administrator in jeopardy. I think we put our staff in jeopardy, and I think we put the county in jeopardy. And I think the release of some information this week was ill-advised, and sorry about this, but irresponsible. And I'm concerned about it.
All right, any other questions for administrator? All right, not, we'll move on to public comment. First set of public comment, we'll have 1 minute for any items of general topics of concern for the county, and then we'll move to 3 minutes with agenda specific. So first we have 1 minute general public comment. Mr. Tosich.
Thank you all. Steve Tostich from Solon Township. I want to start with the big picture. In recent weeks, the financial department, an extremely essential county department, was suddenly disrupted by the unilateral suspension of its director. The public deserves an answer to basic questions. Was the supposed act of insubordination anything more than a passing comment made between two department heads in support of their mutual responsibilities? Was this suspension proportional to the act? Was the county left in a vulnerable financial position in an already short-staffed department due to this suspension based on a passing comment? Was the county board involved in this decision to leave our financial department in a seemingly vulnerable position due to this suspension? We don't know, and that's the problem. This feels uncomfortably familiar. In May of 2021, the board removed finance and HR from the clerk's office without a successful transition plan or full understanding of the cost to Leelanau County.
Mr. Tosich, your 1 minute is up.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Finnegan.
Good evening. My name is Don Spinnikin of East Leland. I appreciate your time. I agree with the previous speaker and want to build on that point. The 2021 decision to remove finance and HR wasn't a minor administrative change. It was a structural shift made quickly, without a plan, without listening to the people doing the work. The result was years of instability, reliance on outside help, and nearly $1 million in additional cost to taxpayers. That wasn't long ago, and it shows how costly rush decisions can be. So when residents now see a knee-jerk suspension that once again destabilizes the finance department, this time initiated by an unelected employee of the board, people naturally ask, did we learn anything, or are we about to repeat the same mistake? Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
My name is Sue Quinlan. I'm from East Leland, and I want to address something subtle but important. Some of you may have seen or heard about the email that a commissioner mistakenly sent to a member of the public. It suggested a strategy already in motion. We've watched an elected clerk, one who has won countywide elections by wide margins, increasingly treated as a problem to be managed rather than a constitutional officer to be respected. The commissioners are elected by district. The clerk is elected by the entire county and has gained overwhelming voter support. That matters. When actions appear to be taken against an elected official without a clear explanation to the public, citizens do not see accountability. We see a power struggle.
All right, Ms. Quinlan, thank you. Anybody else? Mr. White?
Hello again, Commissioners. I'm Jim White from Sutton's Bay Township. Appreciate the chance to speak with you. I like to focus on audit and internal control concerns. Finance isn't just another department, it's the backbone of budgeting, forecasting, and financial controls. When you abruptly move the finance director, you don't just affect morale, you create audit risk. We're now seeing efforts to rebuild what existed before this intervention, and that alone should give this board pause. A new independent auditor is coming in. Auditors care deeply about process, documentation, continuity, and who authorized various actions. If this action wasn't grounded in policy and properly documented, it won't just raise questions, it could raise formal audit findings. Is the board comfortable owning that risk? I hope so.
Hello, my name is Peggy Zmanek from Centerville Township, and it's grateful to have this opportunity to address the board. I want to add one piece of missing context about finance. After years of turnover, finance had finally begun to stabilize. Routine work was getting done, reliance on other offices decreased, and the department was moving toward normal operations. That stability matters. It's evidence, not opinion, that something was working. Now we're back in disruption, the director sidelined, staff uncertainty, and questions about continuity and a mission critical in function. Reasonable people can debate management decisions, but when that stability is disrupted again, the board should pause and ask, was proper process followed? Was documentation in place? And was response proportional to the alleged issue? This is not about defending any one person. It's about safeguarding the institution. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to give him?
Good evening, Tim McCauley from Elmwood Township. Thank you for listening to me. I have an additional concern. We still don't know whether the board was consulted before this suspension occurred. While the board may delegate day-to-day management authority, it still has its fiduciary responsibility to protect taxpayers and ensure financial controls are sound. If the board was involved, the public deserves clarity. If it was not, that raises serious oversight concerns. Oversight is not micromanagement. Oversight is asking hard questions before damage is done. Right now, the absence of clear answers suggests that no one slowed this down long enough to ask whether this action was proportional, documented, or even necessary. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kim Rosansky from Cleveland Township, and I want to raise a fairness question. We've seen very different responses to complaints involving different county officials. In one case, concerns raised by an elected official led to finance director being suspended abruptly with potentially significant operational consequences. In another case, serious concerns raised by the finance director herself were reviewed by outside counsel and resulted in no action. Why the difference? Was the standard the same? Was the process the same? Were the consequences proportional? When outcomes diverge this sharply, people begin to wonder whether personality, politics, or even gender plays a role. Even the appearance of unequal treatment damages trust, and trust once lost is expensive to rebuild. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Susan Davenport. I have no prepared statement. I've lived in Suttons Bay Township for 21 years. In my career, I am a controller consultant and a financial manager for 40 years. The reason I'm here tonight is because of all I read in the paper since the inception of the finance department. I can only say to someone who has run million-dollar companies, I find it ridiculous. And so I came here myself to see what is going on, because none of it makes any sense to me. The way the finance director is being treated. And that's all I have to say.
Any other public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Renee Weiler from Lake Leelanau. And I am here for Kathy Hartsfeld. And I think I also have been an advocate for a clerk who has been thrown under the bus. And I'm going to remind this board that I believe former Commissioner Melinda Lautner was thrown under the bus. And I'm going to remind you that 18 USC Code 241 applies here. Conspiracy against rights, which criminalizes two or more people conspiring to injure, threaten, or intimidate someone in the free exercise of their constitutional rights. We have civil rights and constitutional rights being violated routinely, and we're not going to put up with it anymore, especially as it relates to women being thrown under the bus. This is my resolution 1776, the Transparency Act, and I'm asking for you to sponsor it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to give a 1 minute public comment? We're supposed to hand these out.
Yes, we have somebody.
Yep, 1 minute.
I'm Jean Bailey from Suttons Bay. First, I want to say I appreciate the commitment to the deliberative process of this body, especially since we're not seeing it at the federal level. When we have a Congress not living up to its constitutional responsibilities, it's good to see it at the local level. So thank you for grappling with decisions of how best to use resources that affect we, the people. Something happened a couple of days ago that made me wonder, who do we mean when we say we, the people? On Saturday, Suttons Bay protest organized by the Indivisibles brought out over 200 people on the street, peacefully determined to exercise our right to express our outrage over ICE's brutal rupture of our communities. There were 2 protesters against the protest, also exercising their First Amendment rights. I got the sense that they resented the demonstration on behalf of our immigrant neighbors over their need to feel seen, listened to, cared for, valued.
Thank you,
It's
ma'am.
important to pay attention to their pain and anger too.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to give 1 minute public comment? All right, with that, we'll move on to 3 minute public comment with anything that's agenda specific. Yes, sir.
Hi, Brock Ronzo, Leelanau Township. And I'm going to talk about item 3A. And so I've been following this. I'm very interested in this topic. I'm looking forward to seeing the plan. I understand in December it was approved 5-2 for Mr. Dyer to enter into negotiations. And so I look forward to, I understand that's going to be on the agenda tonight. I really look forward to it because I think this is what is fiscal responsibility, which is to do due diligence, to put out, proposals for bid, to receive those, and then to do that in a transparent and open process. So I really am very thankful to see, again, deliberative process around something which is truly objectively financial stewardship of our taxes. So anyway, that's what I wanted to speak to. And I'm looking forward to it and into the robust discussion that you may have around it. I am in support of it, by the way, based on my analysis. But I won't get into that. I am interested in hearing what the actual findings are and then what's the action being taken. So thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else that wishes to give a 3 minute public comment with anything agenda specific? All right, seeing none, We'll move on to commissioner comments. Commissioner comments? Commissioner Bell?
First off, I had, there is an upcoming for MAC. They have an upcoming seminars on a number of things. And let me see, a governing essentials webinar series, 4-part series. Two of the items on there really caught my attention: ethical public service and Open Meetings Act. But there's 4 coming up, February 10th through March 3rd. There is a cost of $60 for the 4-part series. Just thought I'd bring it up, and I'm not sure the process. You know, if we're, I don't mind paying for my own, but I think that there may be others here, and we may have a budget for that. I just don't know the process.
Contact administration, Lauren would handle that.
Okay. And yes, I did distribute the 2 documents that were brought up before. And I thought long and hard about it. You could take that either way, but in the newsletter, I neither supported nor opposed the suspension of our finance director. Neither did I release public documents that I lack permission to release. I followed a duty I believe we all share to be as open and frank as allowed with the people of Leelanau County. That's what I did, and that's what I will continue to do.
Yes, I just, you know, I did see the protest, and I believe that people have the right to protest. I just felt that the vulgar signs that were presented by Leelanau Indivisible were totally unnecessary. And for the children to go to Suttons Bay School, I felt bad that they had to see anything like that. And I thought they could represent themselves much better by not having vulgar signs.
Commissioner comments? All right. We'll move on to the consent agenda, and I'll just give a quick note here. The purpose of the consent agenda is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one motion without discussion. Any commissioner may ask that any item on the consent agenda be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will automatically be respected and will not need a second. Is there anybody that wishes to remove anything off the consent agenda? All right, now we'll take a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there support? Support, Commissioner Money. We'll have the roll call.
Commissioner, excuse me, Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Walter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Yoder,
Yes.
or Chairman Yoder, excuse me. Commissioner Allgaier. Commissioner Bonnet,
Yes.
7-0.
Thank you. And we'll move on to action items. We have number 1, we got registered deeds resolution. So we got Jennifer from the audience.
Yep, I came in case there were any more questions, and just a reminder that the House bills kind of close some loopholes that people have kind of gotten through, and just protects the rights of our Leelanau residents. And thank you for supporting.
Commissioner Algar.
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners stand in solidarity with the Leelanau County Register of Deeds in support of House Bill 5152 and House Bill 5153, and stand up against predatory practices that protect vulnerable property owners. Also, that the Board of Commissioners send a resolution in support of the above bills to the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Senate Majority Leader, and the Governor of the State of Michigan.
Support. Supported. Discussion. Commissioner Money.
Yeah, I was just wondering, it sounds like this is going to notify the people who's ever losing their home or property, to tell them what they can do to repay it, or what's going to happen if they don't they don't do. Is
Well,
that what you informed them about that?
sometimes what happens is a third party will come in when there's been a foreclosure and they'll kind of want the homeowners to sign away their rights with, say, a quitclaim deed for a minimal amount of money. And what'll happen is before they sign anything away, there needs to be a notice of rights that they understand that they're giving up their redemption period, they're giving up some of their the money that they may be entitled to, and also that they can live in the home during the redemption. So that notice will need to be put on file in our office so that they understand that they're giving up these rights before a third party will come in and just sign a deed away without giving them any of that knowledge. So it protects somebody who's facing foreclosure to understand their rights before something like that happens.
So it's all about the third party. I guess I didn't get that part.
Well,
Protected from the third party, I guess.
pretty much, yes.
I can give you an example, real world example that I experienced down in Calhoun County. We had an individual that had a house that was probably worth $250,000, had a $30,000 mortgage on it. It was in default, and they were told, they gave a quitclaim deed to one of these third parties that the act is intended to protect homeowners against. Didn't tell them that what they would be losing is the equity in the house, the difference between the $30,000 mortgage that they had and the $250,000 value of the house. And they gave a quitclaim deed on the notion that they were going to be relieved from the obligation of foreclosure. And the person basically stole the equity in the house for $20,000.
I've also
$230,000 in home equity by paying that person $30,000.
I have seen it here in Leelanau too, where like a quitclaim deed will be given for $2,000 and the people are giving up their right. And then that third party will go in and sell the home for $75,000 more than what the mortgage was for. And they lose all those rights to any of that money.
And a lot of times what will happen is there will be a mortgage sale. The mortgage company will get, even if they only get $100,000 for a $250,000 house, the homeowner has the right to get the difference between the mortgage payoff and the value that the property owner, or excuse me, the third party received during the sheriff's sale. And they come in and take it because they've got a quitclaim deed. The person is left helpless for that. And I've seen it happen half a dozen times in the time I was corporation counsel in Calhoun County.
Yeah. Once again, I just don't think it's appropriate for us to weigh into this. I'm not for predatory lending, and I obviously support that, but I mean, this is Bill 5,000, and it's a general principle. I'm going to vote no on every one of these unless it is specifically for Leelanau County. But I do appreciate what you're doing, and I know that when you see something that's a little goofy, you're not scared to call people up and get to the bottom of it. I sure do appreciate that. If I can have that noted in the minutes too, in the executive, just had the minutes, just had you vote no, then explain why. And I think it's, if you vote no, then you make an explanation. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Well, since you repeated your stuff from last Tuesday, I'm going to. I think we have a responsibility to let our legislators know when there's something that we need in Lansing that'll help our residents. And I sure appreciate you doing this. And I'm going to be proud to vote yes.
Any other discussion? No, go ahead with the roll call.
Commissioner Allgaier,
Yes.
Commissioner Bonick,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
No.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Walter,
Yes.
Commissioner Wessel,
Yes.
Chairman Yoder,
Yes.
6-1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we got human resources and number A, employee recognition. Motion? Schrager,
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners allow the Human Resources Manager with direction from administrator to implement the suggestions for employee recognition.
support. Supported, discussion. Mr. Money?
Yeah, I'm opposed to this because first of all, I don't know if we have the authority to do this, to actually take giving personal time off for elected officials, employees. I don't know that we can do that. I think and that could be considered a bonus, and I don't know that we're allowed to give bonuses. So I would say that number 3 is that it is a question whether we should be doing that. You know, we may be stepping on other elected officials' authority, and I just wonder, how does this really, you know, putting these things into order, how does this really help our taxpayers? You know, what is it all about? Is it about, you know, is it about that we think we should do it, or are we going to pit one employee against another to try to say that you're better than them by us giving them certificates saying they're good? I mean, I just think that we're creating issues that really isn't any of our business on how to handle employees, because none of them are really our personal employees. We're talking about the sheriffs, we're talking about the registry of deeds, we're talking about the clerks, we're talking, you know, so we're putting our nose in, I believe, right now where it doesn't belong. And I, you know, and I do think that we're not allowed to basically give bonuses. I don't think that's allowed in government.
Okay.
I'd like to note that I didn't say the word above. I said implement suggestions. So that, I believe, leaves it open for what they come up with that will work. And the second point I'd like to make is I've worked in organizations, and employee recognition is common and fun. And I believe, and it feels good for people to be recognized. And I think that these are reasonable people that will come up with suggestions that make sense. But I didn't say above suggestions, I left it open.
Mr. Walter?
That's pretty subjective. Realistically, you're spending unbudgeted money. If you're given a bonus of hours. Check, is it money?
No, that's not listed.
Wow.
It just says suggestions.
Commissioner Walter, finish.
It is, you know, so if I'm given 4 hours annually as a bonus, as a prize for being officer of the month, or employee of the month, or employee of the quarter, that's unbudgeted money. That erodes our budget process. You know, there's nothing wrong with telling somebody, hey, you're doing a good job, I really appreciate it. But when you're drawing your lines around a bonus or cash or something like that, that's not for us to decide. We've got a duty to taxpayers to work within our budget, and that's outside the budget. That's just how I look at it.
Commissioner Robinson, no?
Yeah, I'll speak. When I first presented this, a month ago, 2 months ago, this is like the runaway train here from what I presented. It was supposed to be pretty simple. It was 5-year, 10-year increments. We give them a certificate. We recognize them for their years of service. Maybe between now and then, if we pass this, we're going to come up with a pin of Leelanau County, maybe with 5, 10, 15. That's what this is all about. But all of a sudden, in the last week, it's been a runaway train.
Commissioner Campbell?
Go for it.
I'm missing something here. And this includes bonus hours? Is that what we're?
No.
Okay.
I didn't say above.
Well, you didn't, but you
But it's
didn't.
on there.
You, yeah, we we didn't address it apparently. So is your anticipation this would come back to us with something more concrete then? Or is?
I think you leave that up to people to do the job.
I just, if it's bonus hours, then that's a little bit different. That's
I'll
why.
let the administrator
Yeah,
answer that.
Please do it.
If it required actual money other than the resources we currently have available, yes, it would come back to perhaps a budget amendment or whatever. We would implement the payment of, the idea was to potentially, one of the potential awards could be paid time off, additional, maybe a couple hours of paid time off as the recognition award. That was only one of the three suggestions. And we would not do that unless we had budget and authorization to do so. The other two suggestions really are things that we can accomplish within existing resources. So I have no problem if you would explicitly delete number 3, so we could come back and bring that to you at a later date if we decided that it made sense. But you can delete that if you chose from the motion. So we would not implement that without your further expressive approval. We need a starting place to think about how to do these things.
Answer your question or?
No, because it sounded like the motion itself, if you dissect it, is a pretty open-ended. It does not require coming back. And so then you have a motion in conflict with what actually our budget process requires.
Sugar.
I have a problem with our micromanaging something like this. If it takes money, yes, it would come back to us. But if our supervisors and our HR director and our administrator came up with 5-year recognition, 10, I don't think it's our job to micromanage that. If we think, here's something out of line, we could comment, but I trust them to be reasonable. This is kind of basic stuff.
Right, the clerk have a question?
I just have a question on the motion. The way the motion is worded, motion by Algar that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners allow the Human Resources Manager with direction of the administrator to implement the suggestions for employee recognition. Seconded by Robbins, which is where I would go down and list them. And the way it is, I would take those from the EDS. So those things, without it saying the word above, I either have to leave them off or I have no direction. Otherwise, I would put those in from the EDS, which are the 3 from there, unless you're telling me not to. Because otherwise, this doesn't, the suggestions come from the EDS.
Yeah, no, I believe the word above was simply in there because it was underneath the
Correct,
the
you just
file,
didn't
so
put
it's
it in
just
the
the,
motion. So
right,
now
but
I
no,
have-
that motion does clarify what was in the EDS originally, my understanding. Which had the 3 different
I wasn't
items.
sure I said the.
Well, either way, it doesn't matter, because that motion reflects
I'd
what
like
was
it
in the EDS for the executive
more
document. Mr. Money?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was gonna say. That's exactly what we're trying to, what she's attempting to pass here is all three of them. And that's where, I have the problem with this personal time off and the other things that are addressed in there that are not in our budget. And even the newsletter, which, is gonna take time and effort, and some funds are not really in our budget. I don't know if it was ever included in any of the budget. So, I mean, we're already creating situations where we'll have to adjust our budget. I mean, unless you can fit it into what she already has.
We can do items 1 and 2 within our budget. Item 3 would require further action by this board. You can delete that if you would like in the consideration of the motion.
Or to do that, or Commissioner Algar?
I would amend my motion to delete number 3.
Okay,
I didn't think it was ever in there.
all right, so we have an amendment to the motion to delete item number 3, which has to do with paid time off. I believe, or,
It was one, that was part of this.
or is it? Is there support for that amendment?
I'll
Support that, all right, discussion on the amendment? All right, if not, well,
Yeah, I'd like to make amendment that we eliminate number one as well. That would amend that.
we got one amendment on the floor already, so.
Right, so this would be the last amendment, if someone seconds it.
um, is there a second to the other amendment too? All right, there's none, okay, so we're back to the original amendment. So all in favor of the original amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Carried 7-0. Now we're back to the original motion that has everything except item number 3, which is on the EDS. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion carried 6-1. All right,
Mr. Chair, just a follow-up comment. An organization shouldn't have this much problem figuring out if it's okay to give certificates to employees that might have been here 5, 10, 15, or 20 years. We got important business to do. And let our HR director or manager do her job, let our administrator do her job, and let's go about doing the business that we're here to do. And to second guess whether it's too costly to give somebody a certificate after 5 years of working, I don't. Thanks.
Yeah, I'd like to have a comment now.
okay.
You know, I just want to know how this helps the taxpayers. I feel like this is a high school. I mean, I go to Sutton's Bay and every quarter, they come up with every kid, every class has a, you know, you're a great teacher, or the teacher picks one student as a great student. You know, and I think that's what we're doing here. To me, that seems, that's not, you say we're doing important business, but here we are talking about and trying to implement, finding, say that this employee is a good employee, and what does that tell the other employees? When we pick one out to say that that's a better employee than the other ones. I just think that we're going beyond what we should be doing, and it does bother me.
Commissioner Robbins?
For some of us that did work in the government, it's pretty much standard to recognize your employees. Our employees are the heartbeat of this county. They're what make it work. It's not this board here. I mean, you make it sound like we're giving a participation award, and we're not.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. On to item number B, which is manpower contract, long-term temp staff. That, Russell?
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the agreement with Manpower and authorize the county board chair to sign the contract for future use as needed.
Support.
Supported, discussion?
I voted no because I wanted RFPs for this. And as I recall, I was assured that it would come back to the board if indeed we fulfilled and did hire someone on a long-term basis.
We wouldn't hire anybody under this contract on a long-term basis.
Well, hire
This
is
is
the wrong word, I granted, contract for.
The whole point is to, you've already budgeted dollars. Most departments have dollars for short-term clerical help primarily. You know, that's what we would use this for, and we would not bring it back to authorize that contract to spend those short-term dollars unless it exceeded the budget that was already provided.
Well, I would hope we would keep in mind that we recently increased the hours of employee, the weekly hours, so hopefully this would not need to be implemented.
It's generally for circumstances where there's understaffing for any particular department.
Yeah.
For example, finance department right now.
So this could be
But
used for
don't have
finance.
any specific plans for that right now. Could definitely be used for low-level clerical work on a very short-term basis. Yes.
Money?
Yeah, so we have to have a contract with Manpower to hire someone from Manpower.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, that's what the purpose of the
Yes,
contract is.
it's what you would call a standby contract. We have a contract with Manpower, if that determines how we compensate them for the employees that they provide to us. And again, as I said last meeting, the advantage of that is we don't have the potential for unemployment compensation and all the other, we pay a fixed rate to Manpower, and they provide the employee, pay all the benefits and bear all the possible repercussions for unemployment, for example. Workers' compensation, all those other things. They are their employees for that short period of time.
Right. Any other discussion? Not, all in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Carried 7-0.
For the record, I did change my vote on when I heard finance department. I don't want to be a stumbling block in keeping that office upright.
Sam. All right, next up, we're on to administration, item 3A, which is 2026 vehicle acquisition plan. It was sent under a separate document, but I should have a hard copy tonight, so I'll let our administrator kind of run through the details on that, and then we'll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What I did provide you with was an EDS that essentially describes two alternatives. Either purchase or lease 4 vehicles and one pickup truck. Patrol vehicles, obviously, for the sheriff's department, the pickup truck for the building safety department. And in the EDS itself, I've attached 3 motions that you would need to implement, or at least consider implementing, if you decided you wanted to purchase vehicles, and one that would authorize the leasing of vehicles by acquisition through the enterprise fleet leasing program. I provided the financial analysis that essentially shows there are two exhibits. Exhibit 1 shows just straight net present value of a stream of income, or excuse me, a stream of lease payments. And for comparison's sake, I used $300,000 for both purchase vehicles and for leasing vehicles. That would be the capitalized cost of that. And based on that straight present value analysis only, it turns out to be about $3,000, almost $4,000 positive in favor of leasing. That doesn't take into consideration 2 things. That doesn't take into consideration the fact that we need to purchase at least 50% of the cost of upfitting the patrol vehicles must be paid in advance if we lease from enterprise. That's estimated to be about $40,000 out of a total amount of about $80,000 that we would need to pay for upfitting. That's the cages, the lights, the decals, all the things that make a Ford Explorer a police vehicle. It's anywhere from about $15,000 to over $20,000 per vehicle. And we believe there may be one vehicle that needs a replacement radio that puts it in the category of about $20,000, and the others can have the existing radios, which puts it in the category of about a $15,000 expense. So if you take that into consideration, that's exhibit 1 is just the straight present value of that stream of lease payments compared to $300,000 paid in advance to purchase the vehicles. Exhibit number 2 is the draft of a budget amendment you would need to adopt. It's currently identified in exhibit 2 as budget amendment number 26-TBD. It would be 26-001 if you choose to adopt that. And that we would require the use of fund balance in the amount of $258,000 to make up the difference between what we currently have in the motor pool fund and what it would cost to purchase and maintain the vehicles if that's your decision to do so. Exhibit number 3 is a fleet maintenance comparison that was prepared by Enterprise that shows the net present value analysis taking all factors into consideration. And they focus on the 2026 Toyota Tacoma. And page 1 shows the present value cost of acquiring a vehicle, holding it for 3 years and selling it after, acquiring the vehicle, leasing by lease, holding it for 5 years and selling it at or before 100,000 miles. That total cost for 10 years worth of use, which would be one vehicle in year 1 and one vehicle in year 6, being replaced by the first vehicle if you purchased and the resale value of that, that's about an $89,000 cost over 10 years if you have those, if you find the vehicle on that schedule. The comparison that I asked them to do is taking that vehicle, the first vehicle, and holding it for 7 years and then selling it and reacquiring the vehicle in the 7th year. That analysis shows there's about a $4,000 difference in favor of leasing, maybe actually about a $5,000 difference in favor of leasing over that 10-year period, because, and that assumes there's about a $5,000 difference between a resale of a vehicle in year 5 at 100,000 miles and year 7 with another, say 40 or more thousand miles on that vehicle. So it assumes that. But the other interesting thing about their assumption is they assume that the vehicle purchased in year 1 is $41,000, and the vehicle purchased at the end of year 7, actually at the beginning of year 8, is also $41,000. So that analysis that shows a $5,000 in favor of leasing assumes you're going to be able to buy that vehicle that you could buy in year 1 at the same price that you could buy it in year 7. And they do that because that's the only way, the fair way to make the comparison, is you're comparing apples to apples. But I think you can agree with me that it is extremely unlikely you're going to be able to buy that same vehicle 7 years later for the same price that you could acquire in year 1. Exhibit 4 is the menu pricing, and it shows the cost that would, if we were to use enterprise leasing, shows a total annual cost of just over $70,000 compared to $300,000 to purchase the vehicles. That includes a one-time money down of $40,000, as I said, to pay a portion of the roughly $40,000 to pay a portion of the upfitting cost. So that gives a total first-year cost of $109,000 roughly, and then deducted from that is Enterprise's estimate that we would get $25,000 for selling the 5 vehicles we currently own now that we're going to be replacing with the 5 vehicles that we're going to acquire. So the total cost is actually in the first year would be somewhere around $84,000, assuming we do get $25,000 total out of the sale of those vehicles. Exhibit number 5 is the document that I provided you at our last meeting that just discusses the different considerations in terms of why leasing versus purchasing. And I tried to be as neutral as possible and lay out to you the pros and cons of both. And the final exhibit, 2 pages, are the summary of contacts we made with counties concerning vehicle leasing versus purchasing. Basically found 7 counties that do not lease vehicles. But those that, even 2 of those that do, well, first of all, one county indicated they didn't like leasing because they thought the cost of upfitting the vehicles was prohibitive to a lease if they were selling it sooner than 5 years of ownership. One county did also own their vehicles, but they also only run them to 100,000 miles for the same justification that that we're proposing, or I'm proposing that we lease vehicles and then sell them at 100,000 miles to acquire the advantage of their resale cost. We did identify several counties that do use enterprise or lease their vehicles. Listing that some of them we've already talked about, they're detailed in that document. I thought probably the one that was the most interesting was Osceola County, that said they thought basically, now that wasn't Osceola County, where am I? There's one county that basically told us they thought leasing and purchasing of vehicles was basically a financial wash, but they saved a lot of time and staff in terms of getting the vehicles equipped and reselling them at the end. And they also, a number of the counties commented on how good enterprise was in the resale market, and how they believe they got consistently better value for the vehicles that they sold than when they did it themselves. That's the basis for my recommendation. I would, again, as I said at the last meeting, I think if you were to purchase vehicles, you would want to adopt a policy of not holding them for any longer than 5 years, because that's the point where it appears you have the financial wash occurs. If you hold them longer, you're actually costing the county money when you do so. And finally, as I indicated at the last meeting, and I proposed 3 motions that would accomplish that, we do not have adequate money right now in the, so if you're going to have you would need to approve the budget amendment that is attached to Exhibit 2. And also, I would recommend you consider changing the motor pool charge to 70 cents per mile for all vehicles, regardless of miles used. I think I added in the motion that change could be subject to further amendment based upon a recommendation from the county administrator, that another amount or method of calculation would yield sufficient funds to purchase county vehicles as needed in the future. The idea behind that is we have not really had the time to look at the impact of a $70,000, or excuse me, a 70 cent per mile change on the departments that essentially rent their vehicles from the motor pool. And I would like to have a couple of months to look at that and make a recommendation to you whether that be amended or modified in some other way. And that would be my anticipation of, we can start collecting that now and then give you a recommendation of how that should be amended, if at all, in the future.
Commissioner Money?
Yeah, I noticed that, here it says, this data clearly demonstrates that they are nearly equal in total cost depending on the factors considered. And then also, they say, we would experience significantly better resale when selling on or before 100,000 miles.
Yeah.
So it appears that, I mean, if I'm reading right into this, that if we bought them and then we sold them by 100,000 miles, decided to do that, we would actually come out better off.
You would not come, you would, at best, you would wash, you would have a wash.
Right.
And again, the reason my preference for leasing is because it's not just a better financial solution, in my opinion. It also gives you the opportunity to have predictability in your budgets. And again, we had a confluence of the need for a $500,000 increase in our health insurance budget. It happened in the same year we were going to purchase vehicles. Well, now we could have avoided 1 or 2 of those things if we with different kind of planning, but we weren't able to do so. So when you purchase vehicles, you run the risk that, again, you're going in 2 or 3 years, you're going to face that same thing where you're gonna need to have $300,000 or $350,000 to buy vehicles, but you're also got another budget hole that you need to plug. So instead, you just smooth that cash flow over the course of 5 years by paying basically, instead of $3,000 now, $60,000 over 5 years. And that gives us predictability in the budget and the ability to smooth the cash flow that we need for other purposes.
But in our budget, I mean, we've always planned for 3 vehicles. You know, that's so.
For patrol vehicles.
Yeah, well, and that really is, it's only because we added an officer and a car this year that there's 4. And, you know, and I don't include what goes to building safety because theirs is always totally separate and they fund it themselves. You know, so we, you know, and I actually think we could get by with 3 cars this year myself because of the fact that he doesn't have the officers. And, you know, as it is, we've only budgeted for half an officer each year. I think when we did it, so we're actually not even gonna have an officer till June, July, or August when they finish the school. So I think that if we bought them, we would only need to get 2 patrol cars and or 3, you know, 3 like we normally do, and get the truck, but that would be through. So we're looking that way as opposed to buying 4, and I'm not sure why we're getting 4. Even if someone did come in at the end of the year, we would be getting 3 more in next year.
And the other problem though with the patrol vehicles is again, to get the pricing, if you're not in the running for those vehicles in January, you can't buy them pretty much the rest of the year. So it's not like you buy 2 now and 2 in 2 months or something like that. That's again also the advantage of leasing, because you don't have to have $300,000 in hand to buy the vehicles at the time you acquire them. So.
I would move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the lease agreement with Enterprise Fleet Leasing based on the Sourcewell Nation RFP award contract as modified for Michigan municipalities, which is consistent with the county's purchasing policy, authorize the acquisition and upfitting of 4 patrol vehicles for the Sheriff's Department and 1 type Toyota Tacoma for the Building Safety Department through the terms of that lease, and authorize the county board chair to sign the lease and all other documents necessary to complete vehicle acquisition upon final approval as to form by the county's legal counsel. And I
Need support on that motion.
I do.
Support.
I support that motion for all of the reasons that have been presented. It takes the money that we will be putting out for cars, makes it fairly consistent every year. Commissioner Bonnick was talking about how important our employee time is. It takes time for an employee to manage our vehicle sales and about purchasing them and selling them and following up and making sure they're equipped, et cetera, et cetera. We will be saving our workers' time as well. But it makes total sense financially. And at the end of 4 or 5 years, if we don't like it, we can go back. But I support this. We've talked about it for a very long time. It makes sense. I personally lease a vehicle. It's great not having any maintenance. I support that.
First, I want to thank Mr. Dyer for bringing us 2 proposals, rather than saying this is the only way to go. And I do appreciate that. And I appreciate all the time going into it. If I could, because I was trying to figure out the money side of it. This was inserted in our budget as a kind of a budget savior. effort. It says the budget adjustment, this is in your, yeah, I know you're familiar with this. The budget adjustment assumes the use of $258,000 accumulated fund balance with potentially as much as 250,000 of that coming from an anticipated 225 budget surplus.
Yes, obviously, we won't know that totally
Right.
until we've closed out the entire year, and frankly, we really don't do that based upon the way you do bill payments and that sort of thing. We won't know that until the end of February at the earliest. But
Sure.
we're anticipating that's going to be the case, and that analysis, though, is only necessary if you decide that you want to purchase vehicles, because that's when the budget, if you're going to lease, you don't need to do that budget.
Right, well, I just, the feeling you get after going through that budget process, that you're looking over a cliff. And it sounds like if we did decide to actually buy the cars, that we would have the finances to not make that change. I agree, and I think, Rick, you brought this up about the 4 cars versus 3 cars. You talked about it. It seems like, with my memory, yeah, I know a lot of things under the water under the bridge, but when we wanted the call came for the extra car, we were going to have a school liaison officer.
And that may still be what the sheriff decides to do.
Well, his indications to us is that we're not going to have that. And normally we would only buy 3 vehicles. So I would strongly suggest that if a majority of this board does decide to go into leasing, that we consider just buying the 3 rather than the 4 vehicles. I think that the 3, I'm not sure how we got to 4. I'm sorry, if we agree to lease.
If you recall, that was 4 vehicles was in the sheriff's department's original budget request submitted back last summer.
July 1st.
Yes, so they have requested 4 vehicles from the beginning, regardless of how their staff composition is, they believe they need the 4th vehicle. And I'm not here to second guess their understanding of that.
I'm just saying trying to second guess. I'm just saying the reasoning behind that 4th vehicle changed. And I'm not sure if anyone got back to find out if indeed we could get by with 3.
I don't think it's changed.
So we're going to have a school liaison?
No, I think that he's still going to be staffing the department with those additional individuals. That's still the plan. And that's why I understood he needs 4 vehicles. And again, he's not being here to defend that. I'm not in a position to say one way or the other, to be honest, but that was his request regardless of what the staffing was, as I understood it.
Well, my suggestion would be to say up to 3 vehicles or up to 4 vehicles, and then perhaps we can kind of flesh that out. If you do indeed go in the direction of leasing, then that takes some of the time pressure off of it. I disagree, whether this meets our bid policy. I would rather that wasn't in this motion. I understand the bid policy does say that you can use state bids. I guess as certain as anyone can be in this seat anyways, that was meant so that we could take advantage of the state of Michigan bidding process, not any state in the union. I had one more. I think we're trying to approve an agreement is the same as a contract, and what we have before us, I don't think is an agreement. I think it's an outline, but it doesn't. I don't think it is. Is there going to be something else that comes before us, or?
Quite some time ago, I sent you a copy of the Southwell Sourcewell it's a national contract that is modified for use in Michigan. And again, it would be subject to approval by legal counsel. To be honest, I haven't sent it to him because I wasn't sure which way the board was going to go. I didn't want to waste his time reviewing a contract that you might not approve. Obviously, that'd be the first thing that I do after this meeting is to send that contract to him, for final approval, but it's a fixed contract that was determined through the Sourcewell RFP bidding process that was vetted every which way but loose.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with the
Yeah.
contract. Usually, if we're approving something that is a contract, then that's before. So I'm not sure how that works.
Well,
That's my-
normally when I know that you're going to consider a particular course of action, I would have presented the contract to legal counsel, had them review it, and have it in front of you today. That's why I'm asking you to approve it, subject to his approval as a form.
That's in my ample. Or not.
Commissioner Robinson, then.
So it's my understanding, we're under the gun. We have to make a decision tonight to get this order in. So the problem I see is, I know the sheriff, if I listen to him correct during the budget and everything, he's got people going through the academy, they're staggering them, and the school position will start in September, late is what he's shooting for, late summer. That's what he told us. So if he needs 4 patrol cars and we only get 3, and we can only order them a certain time of year, and what are we gonna do? Take the Kubota for maintenance and change the lens on it, put a red and blue light on it? I mean, we gotta order 4. That's what he wanted.
I like Alan's suggestion up to 4, and then it allows our administrator to get with the sheriff. And it doesn't delay the process, but it might address your concerns on that. I seconded it. If you change your motion friendly, up to 4, I'll second it.
Do you need that? Yeah, I suppose.
It's just modifying the motion that you modify it up to 4 patrol vehicles instead of 4. So
Okay.
I appreciate it. Just do that and the second is good with that. So. All right, money.
Yeah, I do realize that we are gonna be paying 7% interest on these vehicles through the lease. I mean, it does state that in here. I don't believe there's any investment where we're gonna get 7% on our money. So Southwell will make money on it, Enterprise will make money on it, and somehow us buying them is more expensive than leasing them. I find that hard to believe.
Even at 5%, the opportunity cost for $300,000 uninvested is $89,000. Even at 5%, not 7%. That's the lost opportunity cost of failing to invest $300,000.
All right. Any other discussion? Walker, no.
No.
But I appreciate you putting, all this together and breaking it all down and stuff like that. I guess the question that Commissioner Bunny had as far as interest, would you mind, that's just for my mind, explaining that? And then I guess one of the exhibits, exhibit 3. Just for my knowledge here, is in year 5, you have just the 20,000, is that what they were saying for the Tacoma that we would get back from that?
That's their
estimate?
estimate, yes.
And then what's the 89 code there?
89, that's the present value, all considering acquisition, resale, maintenance, and fuel. The cost of, the total cost over 10 years for operating and acquiring and operating that vehicle.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah, because that'd be, in essence, 2 vehicles with
Correct.
total cost, correct, right,
Correct.
okay. So in essence, split that in half, that'd be about 45. Right?
Essentially,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And as far as the interest goes, all I can tell you is that the net present value today of $300,000 is $300,000. Okay. The net present value of a stream of income, or excuse me, a stream of payments beginning on day 1 of $5,833,000, which is basically dividing $300,000 by 5 years and 12 months. That net present value, including the interest at 7%, is shown in Exhibit 1. And that net present value is $296,296.50. It costs you that amount of money today to buy that stream of income. If that's what you were going to do, you'd have to pay that much money to buy an annuity that would pay that stream of payments over 5 years.
So then in Exhibit 3, that includes all the interest and everything that
Yes.
Commissioner Bunning was referring to.
Yes,
So
Exhibit
everything,
3
so everything is in that cost. So I guess, yeah, I don't see why it would, that's not increasing our cost then, from my understanding, unless you're seeing something different.
It's all based on ifs. If everything goes perfectly, this is what it'll be.
No, I understand, but I mean,
I know. I mean, we're giving the best scenario. We know what it would be if we bought
And then one of them had an accident and we got told. So anyway, that's our best. Our best thing is we buy them and we drive them for 10 years and we never have a problem. And we know that's not gonna happen. Okay, now, if we lease them for 6 years and we get rid of them before they, well, you bringing up stupid things. If you lease them and we get rid of them at 60,000 miles and we don't get into the mileage where they start breaking down and start costing us money, the best we can do is break it.
I said sell them at 100,000.
So
This will still come out ahead.
all right. Only discussion on that and then just call the vote on that. All those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion carried 5-2. Next up, we have action item 3B, which is the letter of agreement, which was handed out, which I believe everybody has. All of the administrator I mentioned it briefly in this report. I'll let him. You any more on that?
I think it speaks for itself. It's just an intent for no less than 60 days, but no longer than the terms of the collective bargaining agreement to increase the pay of the existing account clerk to grade 2, 30,070. Essentially, right now, what she's doing the work of the.
Excuse me, did you say 3,000?
What I meant to say was $30.70 per hour. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. I probably did say 30,000.
No, I heard 30.
But I think there was 1,000.
Yeah,
Sound carries.
So yeah, $30.70 per hour. Basically, Elizabeth is doing the work, her own assigned work, and some of the work of the assistant finance director. And she's doing a tremendous job and is a great help to me. So I just want to recognize that. Again, emphasize one thing that I absolutely want to emphasize is this was not something that she requested. It was my idea because I think she deserves it.
All right, you have a motion?
I cannot find the motion, but I sure would support it.
I think it's just a motion to adopt or accept the letter of understanding as presented.
Letter of agreement for interim pay.
So moved.
Support. All right, move to supported discussion. Money?
Yeah, it would just be budget neutral. I mean,
Yes,
I think because we don't have the deputy and we don't have that, but I know we are still paying the finance director, right?
that's correct. And we'll
So
probably be visiting that issue shortly.
okay, but because she's really the only one in the office being paid there now.
Correct.
So we would have the funds there.
I think it's budget neutral for a number of reasons. but that's not the least of which is we have 2 vacancies right now.
It just, it says not to exceed 40 hours, and it sounds to me like she's exceeding 40 hours. And I assume she gets paid overtime, but,
Well, that's what a regular full-time employee does not exceed 40 hours. It'd be during the week. It's not 40 hours total. It's 40 hours a week.
yeah, is she putting in more than that, is all I'm saying.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
She's definitely doing that.
Just the way it's worded, the position is currently budgeted as a regular full-time, not to exceed 40
Yes,
hours,
that is
which means she could decline the extra, but she's stepping in the plate and.
Right, I've made it very clear to her that she can decline the overtime if she chooses, but so far she chose not to do that.
What is seconded?
Yes. Commissioner Wessel.
Was that Allgaier and Wessel or Mark?
Augur and Wessel, yep.
And Allgaier's motion was what Walter stated.
Right.
He was just.
I read it off and she said so moved, so she slid it in there. So I'm okay on it.
If you want your name.
No, it's fine. Yeah, anything goes wrong, it'll be your fault. No.
All right, any other discussion? Not, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Carried 7-0.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Next up, we have Board of Commissioners 2026 goals. As I emailed out to everybody, as I know as we agreed to at the last meeting, I wanted to kind of speed the process rather than hashing it all out at a public meeting. I asked every one of you individually. You responded all to me individually, and that was a group. Appreciate that. Kind of as your top priorities, and this is what the analysis that came out. The top priority, everybody, I think there was at least 3 or 4 commissioners that voted for those. The second tier, those all got 2. 2 commissioners stated those, and then the individual priorities were all 1 commissioner gave those recommendations, and they're all in alphabetical order. Obviously, yes, I think, based on what commissioners sent to me, was the top priority was software upgrades and strategic planning. Those were the 2, and then the second tier where everybody, there's at least 2 commissioners where it was budget. I put it into kind of streamlining just as because I put in there cuts, projections, procedure and schedule, all that stuff. And then, yeah, examine the jail. There was a couple different terminologies that 2 commissioners used on that, but I just put in there examine jail cost, etc. However, hopefully that satisfies that. But as far as individual priorities, I don't care, we could easily move some of those up into our top priority if there's consensus here. Or do it as one different wording, like I don't mind at all, because I know, like, for instance, software upgrades. And then if you go to individual priorities, there's full review and implementation of the Raymond recommendations for finances, which did include software upgrades and a resolution and all that stuff. So some of that stuff could be combined, if commissioners so wish, but I put it together so we can hopefully speed up the process a little bit and get moving here, so. And it is Commissioner Wessel.
Yeah, when I communicated to you, Mr. Chair, I had reviewed all of our list of items, and most of them didn't look like goals to me. They looked like tasks we had to accomplish. And so to start us off, I would suggest that we only need 3 goals. And one is strategic planning, which takes care of most of everything else on the list. But the second thing on the list was, for me, was we commissioned from Raymond a very detailed review of finances and finance in the future and what we needed to do. The table of contents for that report has all sorts of details about our responsibilities and accounting and verification and purchasing and budgeting. I think it contains all of the things that this board needs to do, and I would even suggest that we sit down and have a very thorough review of that report amongst us in a special meeting. Then third, staff's our most important asset, and we do have sitting on a shelf a report on staff climate and staff concerns, and I think that a third goal then should be to do what we need to do to address our staff and our concerns, and one of that would take care of the salary study if we need to do that. But I would suggest we take the activities off our list, and I would propose strategic planning, financial review, and staff support.
Mr. Walter. Okay, I echo that to an extent. I have put down consolidation of finance office operations, and that is specifically referenced to Raymond. Review the best practices that we should be following, and all the notes in there are the things that we're not. And, I'd like to, and policy is policy, but procedure, policy is a general outline of what we gotta do, and a procedure outlines exactly how we're gonna do it. And I think we need to look at that and consolidate that office and set it up. So, the idea is with the procedures, if you died tomorrow, I could walk in, pick it up, and say, this is what I gotta do today. 'Cause it
How
tells
about
me
if I
step
win
by
$1
step.
million?
All right, how about if I died tomorrow and you can pick it up? But that outlines exactly what we're doing on each one of these types of transactions. And I'd like to see us get into that. Policy is general. But when you're running an office, you need a procedure. And that's what Raymond's calling for. And that keeps us out of the swamp. That's, but other than that, that's what I meant by the consolidation, but I echo ties.
Well, our job really is, which was echoed before the last election, was to do, to hire and work with our administrator and set policy for the county. And if you look through our policies, it's been since 2013 since they really have been given a look, and they're kind of a mess. We really don't have the software upgrades. We're not going to be the ones to do that. I mean, I understand it's a top priority of the county. We can reiterate to our administrator and to our finance department, this is a top priority. Beyond that, it's let go of the reins and off they go. But we have strategic planning as a top priority. And everything kind of falls in place when you let that take the reins and drive this process. So we can talk about, gee, should we have this on the second tier or the third tier? But really, this was meant for strategic planning. And I think that's kind of the direction we have to go. I gotta say one more thing. We all received an email from the chair of our Parks Commission, and I think that deserves some attention. I dropped the ball on that. I should have brought it up. I bet you if that was on that list, it'd be on the second tier. It just didn't come up. Whatever. We should have brought it up. We should have discussed it, and that deserves some attention.
All right, any other comments on Michelle Gar?
I am not saying this needs to be in our top tier because we don't have the money for it. But we have to remember that while we served 90% of our citizens with internet and fiber, we didn't finish, and the BEAD money did not cover it. So we have to be open to and on the lookout for opportunities to help these people get the services they need to function in this society. The BEAD money just did not come through the way we hoped it would. And Cherry Capital has gotten money twice for an area in Cleveland and Casson Township. They've gotten 2 grants for that and not served a single household. Yeah. We got ARPA money and BEAD money.
All right, any other comments on the goals here? Commissioner Robbins?
I'm looking at these, been through this a few times, goals are always great in January, but come December, where did the list go? Like I've been preaching, after tonight, we have 22 meetings. I see on here, we have 16 items. You just take the top 2 tiers, you're down to 8. I mean, look at, it just took us, 10 meetings just to figure out how to buy some vehicles. So, we really gotta, our main function is to run this government here and run it efficient for these people out here. That's our first priority. I mean, this is, I'm not making fun of it, but, this reminds me of a little kid here, the old Sears Roebuck Christmas catalog. In October, you look at it, and then you pray in December, maybe dad or mom's gonna get you that. So that's what we gotta concentrate on, what we need here as a county and what we can do as a board to be realistic. Because like I said, we don't have enough meetings to do this, but my goals are the software upgrades and strategic planning. And I guess if we accomplish that, that's gonna be a whole year right there, probably.
All right.
So are we gonna set a special meeting for strategic planning?
My goal on that was to get an RFP to this board to allow to go out and get RFPs and then, put that together and get approval from this board to get bids for somebody to do a strategic plan for us. That was my goal of that. So, but that's, I mean, by the time we authorize RFPs and all that, that could be a 6 to 8 month process. That's a whole year process just to get that done. So.
That's a good idea.
And being with the, based on what I'm hearing tonight, strategic planning is one. Is there objection? I know Commissioner Wessel mentioned about the full review and implementation of the Raymond recommendations, which does include software upgrades, resolution. As another priority or number 2, is there objection to that, I guess, to move in that direction, with that being included and everything?
I'm gonna object, because we've just set a goals and now we're just changing them. We're gonna have new goals every time somebody comes up with another idea.
We haven't said anything, so we're having this.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I objected to adding those in. If we stick with the 2 top priorities, I'm happy with that.
I'm literally just put down here what commissioners gave me feedback on. This wasn't a set thing that I was expecting, to be 100% on board. It was just simply to start a discussion. So.
Can we clarify? So where are we? We've been talking about doing the software upgrade for years.
And we've been talking about doing full implementation of the finance department. And that was on our original list a month ago. And rather than do that from scratch, let's take what we paid for from a very reputable firm, Raymond, that worked with the treasurer's office, the accounting staff, the clerk's office, the administrator, put together a very detailed report on finances. And let's this isn't an add-on. This was something that was started when you were chair in 2021.
I still.
2022.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
We have a report. We have a plan. Let's do it.
It's really up to the administrator now, not us.
Oh, very good.
You just heard it. You can do it. Go for it.
Commissioner Walter?
Yeah, basically all the rest of this is daily business that we've got to do every year anyway. I mean, it's just, most of it's just a reminder of where our priorities are. Stuff that, just housekeeping. But the consolidation of the finance office and implementation of the Raymond recommendations should be one of our top priorities. Well, we know it is because we have to have that function. Software upgrades, we know we gotta have that. Strategic planning, we know we gotta have that. So that's pretty simple.
Well, my question was, do we want to just include software upgrades into the full review and implementation of the Raymond recommendations? I had one objection, I guess.
It is really,
because that is included in there. I just had it
Right.
separate because I had it separate when I emailed it out to everybody.
Right.
So that's the main question I have for the board here. What's?
Can I talk about the gorilla in the corner? We don't have a finance department.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
So is this a goal that we're gonna start? And when you hire someone, it's gonna take them a few months before they can sit in the seat. So are we setting goals for 2026 or 2027? It just seems a little pie in the sky to start talking about how we're gonna direct our finance department when we don't have it.
I think in 10 months, we should be full of staff. If we're not, then we're helpless. There's nothing we can do.
Feedback, so strategic planning is one, I'm hearing software upgrades.
Yeah.
Or tying it in, I don't.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's fine.
Yes,
You
it's
wanna
always
tie it
been
in?
tied in.
Yeah.
It's fine to have it as a goal, it's just unrealistic at this particular moment.
I guess, question, did you read the Raymond report?
Yeah, I did. I like the stuff, but I saw that there was assignments directly for our finance director. We don't have one. There was the payroll was assigned to the assistant finance director. We haven't had one of those since November 6th or 7th. So we need a finance department before we start putting pressure on the finance department.
It's a
Right.
process.
All right,
It's a process.
are those our top two priorities then? I don't wanna
Yes.
keep, we're just gonna keep
Yes.
a dead horse here, so.
Yes.
All right,
Not taking it.
yeah. All right, so we'll need a vote then to adopt these goals, I guess, then. But, yeah, these top two goals.
So
Support.
All right, moved and supported, discussion. Probably had plenty of that. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Carried 7-0. All right, next up, we have a review of financials.
Thank you. We have really two items for your consideration tonight. There is a transfer number 26-01, which is on your desk. These are routine transfers that you already budgeted. And we make them, you just essentially are reauthorizing them. This is a routine transfer that you've made every year that I can find. And all I did in this context was to take this year's budget amounts, use the same initial transfer percentage rates, and simply apply them to the initial budget amounts. And those are before you as we speak. As for the claims approval, we have late additions and claims and accounts in the amount, previous claims in the amount of $168,919.54. And then 2005 late additions to claims and accounts of $56,355.78. And late additions of 2028 claims of $134,037.78 for a total of $359,313.05. And
2026, so 2028, so I just,
Did I say
I didn't want to jump 2 years if we didn't have to.
yeah, definitely. This is yes, for late additions for 2026. I'm sorry, I misspoke. That's the proposal for your approval this evening. I reviewed all of those accounts, didn't find anything unusual or anything to be excluded. So,
Questions on the financials? All right, not special reports. Special reports. All right, not, we're on to your final public comment. You have 5 minutes to address the board with anything you wish, sir.
I'll be a little faster this time. Getting up here at least. Rob Franzo again, Leelanau Township. I would just want to say thank you, Mr. Dyer, for your report. I followed it carefully. Your financial analysis, bears out. what I understood as well, leasing and the present cost of money and everything else. Really good analysis. So that was great deliberation, guys. I'm really happy to see you all consider this. These are small incremental steps around stewardship and taking care of, our valuable money that we taxpayers give to the county for essential services, for protection. Cars are not an investment, they're a distraction. And having somebody, especially using the process for putting out RFPs at the state level and leveraging that scope and that scale is just really brilliant. So I'm so happy to see this type of deliberation, decisions, and process taking place. I just wanted to say a great decision. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
Jim Culverstead, Leelanau Township. We've heard tonight from several residents raising different concerns, but they all really point to the same issue. It isn't about personalities. It's about how power is exercised when something goes wrong. We've seen this before. In 2021, the board made major structural changes involving finance and HR without consulting the responsible parties and without truly understanding the consequences. Taxpayers paid close to $1 million for that mistake. Today, again, we are watching a mission critical finance function destabilized, this time by unilateral administrative action. And the board is now left trying to sort out, hopefully, after the fact. That's not good governance. We're already seeing short-term fixes, shifting staffing, authorizing temporary help to keep the lights on. These steps may be necessary given the suspension, but they are not a substitution for stable leadership, clear authority, and documented process in finance. Repeated disruption doesn't justify or doesn't just affect moral or other staff members. It increases the risk of mistakes, burnout, loss of institutional knowledge in the county's most sensitive financial functions. Here's what the residents are asking you to do. First, formally request a written timeline and policy basis for the financial director's suspension. Who authorized it, under what authority, and with what documentation was the suspension proportional to the act? Second, ask your incoming independent auditor to assess whether this action created internal control or audit risk. Not blame, just the facts. Third, pause any further personal escalation, regardless of department, until that review is complete. Fourth, commit publicly to consistent standards, the same process, the same scrutiny, regardless who's involved. Finally, provide a clear public update to residents so residents know when to expect an answer. None of this weakens the board. It strengthens it. Do nothing sends a message that a broken control structure is acceptable. Slowing this down, shining a light on it, and getting it right protects staff, protects the board, and protects the taxpayers. Please don't let another avoidable mistake become another expensive lesson for the people of the county. Thanks for your consideration. And one added thing, whatever money we paid for a sound system in here in the back. I can't hear it very well, and there's several other people that can't. So I wish you would get it fixed.
Mr. White.
Since I'm the last speaker, Jim White, Suttons Bay, I'll try and make this quicker than 5 minutes. Back to the same old subject, folks. I keep having this conversation about questions that need to be answered. I appreciate Ty Wessels' offer to fix that situation, as well as the county administrators. Unfortunately, we weren't able to work that out yet. But I still have the same questions. I won't go through all 10 of them. I'll just ask a few that I think are probably the most important. I keep being told that we need to talk to the Suttons Bay School District to find out what's going on with this land deal. But the problem is the treasurer, who I confirmed this with again in the hallway after the last meeting, specifically told me that there was a financial emergency that caused him to approve the land deal. There are 2 members sitting in this room and right up there in front of me who were apparently part of that discussion. I'd like to know if he actually said that. Did he just say it to me? Did he say it to both of you? At the same time, when I talked to the Suttons Bay School District, they say that they never used those words, but the last time I checked my notes and records, the superintendent did say, I wouldn't call it a financial emergency. I would call it a deadline that required us to make tough decisions we didn't anticipate. Sounds like a crisis to me. So at the end of the day, the question is, since that emergency, urgent situation, whatever, required, convinced some of your people, in fact, the commissioner of District 6, to vote for this, the administrator to vote for it, I think it's a legitimate question for this board. And I think you would want to know those answers, especially since, as I've talked about before, the money that's being paid from the Suttons Bay School District is going to undisclosed investors, private investors. I've been told by the CEO of Peninsula Housing, he won't tell me. I've been told by the treasurer that he doesn't know who they are and doesn't care. Of course, my question for the members up here is, do you care? Because at the end of the day, even though, as the treasurer pointed out to me, he's not writing any checks, at the same time, he is anticipating giving tax breaks and subsidies to this project. You have members of that board that you've appointed. You have a member of that board sitting up here on the Board of Commissioners. It would seem to me that there should be a lot of curiosity about exactly why that's happening and why it's happening in that manner. I don't think the public money should be going to undisclosed private investors. Just my opinion. Interestingly enough, though, when I Googled AI and asked the very same questions of that, and I read it to you back in November, it says that this situation, quote, indicates significant conflicts of interest and possible corruption. That's just them talking to me. So the question is, when are you guys going to sit up and take notice and find out what exactly is going on? I'd like to know. And at this point, Ty, I'll come see you anytime. Just you and me, though. Just you and me. I appreciate Mr. Dyer wanting to chime in, but when I sat down with him in his office, he said, I'm willing to do it. I said, I don't think it's your place to do it. Matter of fact, I think that's putting a responsibility on him that he shouldn't have to pick up. That's just my opinion. And you know, I never say good things about Jim Dyer unless I have to. Okay. At the end of the day, that's something that's still ongoing. The heat's going to continue to build on this because people are asking me questions. And I think you need to get the answers before they get them from somewhere else. That's just my opinion. Finally, on another subject, I talked about the administrator back in November, and I have my notes here. And I'm not a prophet, but I told you guys back then that I asked you the question, how many employees are you willing to lose before you take effective action to hold the county administrator accountable for his poor people management and lack of professional judgment? Ta-da, here we are again. Similar situation, and there's really no justification for it, in my opinion. And just so you know, I am not saying this for the first time in front of the county administrator. He knows my position on this, and he and I respectfully disagree with each other on that. I think you're in a situation where you need to take charge of this situation as a board to avoid further liability. Thanks for your time.
Another public comment? Renee? No, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I have a few items here. First, I want to address the internet. We spent $5 million on the internet project. And we don't have, everybody doesn't have access. You said there was 100, I think the technician, I actually signed up for Point Broadband Internet and my daughter just about killed me. We didn't have reliable internet. The guy came out, technician said that they didn't finish the work in the cabinets. I don't know what that means, but there was a list of 100 people who did not have internet. And he told me, he gave me a little thing that I plugged in, and it was supposed to be some kind of converter to get it to work. It didn't. And he said it's not going to work because they didn't do the proper work on the cabinets, whatever the cabinets are. But there is a solution. Elon Musk just came in with his internet. It's $80 a month. It's $20 for the deposit for the equipment, and it's lightning fast. And I, who don't have a whole lot of technology skills, was able to put it up on a pole that was in our yard from Point Broadband, or was it, it might have been some other, Spectrum. And I just put it up there, attached it, and it works, and it is lightning fast. So what are we gonna do about that $5 million that we just squandered? I mean, that's unacceptable. Somebody has to be accountable for that, but that's all I'm gonna say about this. I'm gonna move on to the land bank. I don't understand anything that's going on with the land bank. I took this from, these are the articles of incorporation for the land bank. I took this from the website today, and I noticed that there's no signature, there's no date. This isn't a contract. This, I don't know what this is. Does the land bank have any authority? Can you please tell me if it has authority, or is it just because there's 6,100 tax forfeitures that are showing up in the register of deeds and nobody can tell me why they're there? Were 6,100 properties seized? I looked at one of the properties. It was 112 West Madison over in Sutton's Bay, and it looked like a 91-year-old woman owned it at one time. A couple of years before she died, that property was seized, I guess, by the county. It looks like it in the land records, and it was given to a young man for $40,000. So we have another woman, 89 years old in Sutton's Bay, who was up for sheriff's sale. And I was very concerned. I went over to her house and I saw her and talked to her, and she said she had no idea her house was being foreclosed upon. 89 years old. She has $1 million home, and Huntington Bank was wanting 50 grand. Didn't know anything about it. I looked at the documents. They don't look good. So we have a big problem. We also, I did send today my notice to Christy Nome, Sheriff Darleaf and I and his registrar, Barb Perlis, are looking at attorneys who have recorded counterfeit documents in Leelanau County and Berry County. He says, if you can give me something similar fraud pattern with Leelanau and Berry, I can investigate it. And he is. And so he wrote Christy Nome at Homeland Security in regard to the voter fraud. So we're starting to put the voter fraud and the land record fraud together. And now we have Macomb County Clerk alarmed about citizens affecting jury trial. So we have 239 non-citizens in the jury pools in Macomb County. So hello, we have a problem. I don't know how to solve it, but you all need to know we have a serious problem. We're going to be doing a deep dive on the land bank. And we deserve answers. And I know you're all going to just say, oh, go talk to somebody. But we have to protect our elderly because it looks like there are a lot of the elderly that have been a part of this tax forfeiture, the seizing of their homes. They don't have mortgages. So this is for you to notify you. Request.
Anybody else have any public comment? Ted, yes, sorry.
Hi, my name's Patty Lesh. I'm from Leelanau Township. And I'd want to address an underlying issue regarding our county government. I'm a visual learner. Facts and figures are important, but I see issues from a different perspective. So I'm going to paint a picture of my observation of what's going on within the county right now, pertaining to some of the comments previously made. I'm a family life educator by profession and have dealt many times with dysfunctional family systems. When I sit down with a woman who is facing her third divorce, I listen to her story. The whole family is falling apart. They're up to their eyeballs in debt, and they are not communicating. On top of that, the kids are a mess. They have given up on their parents, so they retreat or rebel against authority of any kind. Eventually, I gently look her straight in the eye and I say, have you ever thought that you have married the same man with 3 different names? Has it ever dawned on you that you might be the problem? Organizational systems are all the same, whether it's private, governmental, or family. Everyone in that system has a role to play. In our case, the administrator appears to be the father figure, and the board is the wife. The government employees and the people are the children of a blended family. It appears to the children their parents are on the verge of another divorce. Mom is conflicted. Dad is acting like a tyrant, and the kids are either hiding in the closet so they don't have to face the arguments, or they rebel and act out in a number of different ways. Since I have lived in Leelanau County, I have lived through 2 divorces, 2 previous administrators. Then an uncle stepped in to help the family out. That was the interim administrator. From my perspective, as a member of this family system, I was thankful for the uncle who stepped up to help our mom out. He was thoughtful, measured, and offered suggestions for change. He improved our living conditions and helped to straighten out mom's finances. When mom became comfortable with the way the system was working, she married again. Now we have a new father living in the house, our present administrator, who is different, but with the same character traits as the first 2 husbands. We seem to be cycling around yet again, facing the same issues we have faced in the past. The positive changes have been undone, and we're right back to the same dysfunctional family system. So I'm going to look at this board straight in the eye and ask you, have you ever thought that you have married the same man, but with 3 different names? Has it ever occurred to you that you might be the problem? As a child living in this family system, I'm tired. I just wish my parents would do the heavy work of introspection and make the personal changes that will bring the family back together. I don't want to go through another divorce. But if the parents don't clean up their act and choose to continue to live in the craziness at the expense of their children, I see no other way forward. Mom needs to take a long, hard look at herself and figure out how to stop the serial divorce cycle. Divorces are expensive, and the money is coming out of your children's college fund, their future. If we don't see change, I can guarantee you the kids will start to see reality and start advocating for themselves. And that's an example of what you've seen today. I'm not calling anybody names. I'm calling out behaviors. These behaviors disrupt an organizational system that's not functioning right now. Thank you.
Okay. Public comment? Kowski?
Good evening. I believe that life story we just heard should be copyrighted. We also have great respect for Mr. Robbins, who basically told us what's going on to some degree here. That is that we are under the gun. Everything seems to be under the gun. And it's admission of a weakness in making decisions under time constraints and lack of information, timely information. And Mr. Campbell talked about it, and something I consider that we as a county are in a deep hole. We're mired in quicksand, and we're still digging a deeper hole in the quicksand. Some of this problem arises by the fact that the county commissions over the years have gotten involved in so much MCL 46.1 stuff that it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare to deal with. And we can see that. And I now want to say that I agree with Mr. Koberstadt's statements earlier and Mr. White's concerns. But Mr. Koberstadt laid out quite a litany of things. And that gets me to believe that this all started, this association and this breakup and maybe a divorce began on May 11th, 2021. Since then, county commissions have never been able to wrestle this ape or whatever you want to call it to the ground. They've allowed it to manage the commissions, wasting $1 million, harming the clerk, and destroying morale. And it is time we sit down and talk about it and fix it up. Therefore, we're asking again this commission to provide an apology to the clerk and to the county taxpayers and the people whose lives have been impacted unnecessarily and negatively for the bad decision that was made on May 11, 2021. And the other final recommendation is, if this commission honestly wants to serve the taxpayers and inhabitants, the first objective would be to evaluate the May 11th, 2021 decision. And with that information, decide how to fix it and why we did it, because it had no plan of any kind. The clerk was never contacted at all about it. And the administrator went along for the ride and called it a fiasco. And we're still enjoying a fiasco, and we may be enjoying another fiasco with this latest incident that occurred about 10 days ago. Thank you.
Public comment? All right. We'll move on to commission comments. Commission comments?
Right, just a question. Do we have a contract with our auditor?
We are still working on that, but I believe last I heard from our lawyers is they're making contact with the auditor's lawyers to work out some details on the indemnification provision.
My prediction is the lawyers will make some money.
They always do. They always do.
Yeah.
And
Well, I didn't even think about that. No offense.
in terms of the scope of work, the financial aspect of it, that's fine. And I've been in contact with the auditors on a number of things, including the decision to replace the finance director on paid administrative leave. So they're actively working on our behalf without a contract right now, which is quite admirable.
Yes, I just, so long as I just want to make sure they were involved with the separation of the two offices, the treasurer's office and the finance. If you could just make sure that they understand there's been some commingling of employees, and my understanding
There
of
hasn't
checks.
been any commingling of employees.
Well, there's been
They have, the treasurer employees have been assisting me in reviewing and approving, but I've been the one responsible for reviewing and approving all of those financial transactions.
Just make sure he's good. I'm not trying to.
There's the appropriate separations are in place.
John Garner?
I understand that it's hard for our residents to see events that they can't have all the facts on and be concerned. And most of you have shown that you have a lot of concern for the county, and that's admirable. And I hope we'll all remember that for the confidentiality of the process is very important to its process. And we have to be very careful about drawing conclusions when we just don't have all the facts. I trust our administrator. He's done an excellent job for us, and I know that he is working through this process. And I appreciate your concern. And of course, an individual's process at work has to stay private. So I hope you'll respect that. I appreciate all the work that you've done. I sure hope the reason you're going to be gone is that you'll have some positive time. So I know you'll also be working. Hey, and everybody, try to stay warm. It's cold out there. Thanks for coming in.
Any commission comments? All right, I should have maybe given this under special reports, but I'll state it now. But based on what Commissioner Robbins presented at last Tuesday, I have made several calls to individuals that could do a commissioner workshop that was discussed here. So hopefully I'll have some for February that I can present and get something together. But needless to say, it's going to take a couple meetings from my understanding, talk with individuals. It's not a one and done. So it's from what it sounds like, a lot of them fit into what we want as a board, what we need. So once I get a lot of that stuff, I'll make sure you guys are aware of it and we can hopefully make a decision. Perhaps something in February for that. So.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we're on to approval of financials. Money.
Yeah, I'd make a motion that we pass resolution authorizing fund transfer 26001.
Moved and supported, discussion. Not all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Carried 7-0.
I make a motion that we pass.
Was that, hold on, was that, did you second that, Commissioner Algar? Was that you? I did. Oh, Commissioner West, all right. Go ahead.
Where I'm making a motion to pass claims and accounts for $359,313.05.
Supported, discussion? Not all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried 7-0.
I make a motion that we pass post audit $2,953,960.23.
Support, discussion? Not all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carried 7-0. All right, with that, everybody stay warm. I hear it's gonna get even cooler, so adjourn.
I was hoping Jim would stay. Well, no, I wanted to say this, that increase in tax. That's one of the next. It isn't, now it is.